Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namah. Om Namo Brahmadibhyah Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyah Vamsharshibhyah Mahadbyah Namo Gurubhyah. So what we plan to do this morning this is usually Bhagavad Gita class. But since this is a part of the camp and we are doing the Brhadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya, so I plan to continue that at the same time. To make it simple, we will review what we have done. We may not go into new portion, but we will review what we have done so far. And so those who are here for the first time may pick up one of these books, because I'll refer to the page numbers in this book. Are all books distributed? Anything left? So have they, all books are distributed?
Some are short.
What we are doing in the Brhadaranyaka Upanishad is called Maitreyi Brahmanam, which is the Upadesha or the teaching imparted by sage Yajnavalkya to his wife Maitreyi. Under what circumstances this dialogue took place? Maitreyi's wife, Yajnavalkya's husband. Yajnavalkya is very well known as a wise person, as a wise sage, Rishi. And Maitreyi had always lived with him. But now a time came when sage Yajnavalkya addressed his wife. Open page 17 of this book that you have. So you may repeat when I read here. Maitreyi iti hovacha Yajnavalkya उद्याश्चिन्वा अरे अहम अस्मात् स्थानादस्मि हन्तते अनया कात्यायन्या अंतं करवाणीति. One day, Sage Yajnavalkya addressed his wife Maitreyi. Hey Maitreyi, Udyaschandva are ahamasma sthana rasmi. Now I am going to move up to a higher stage. That I am right now with you in the stage of grihasthashrama or the life of householder, and I wish to move up to a higher stage, meaning that I want to become a renunciate, a sannyasi. Sage is already a wise person. Why does he want to go away, become sannyasi, go to forest? Just to become free from whatever distractions may be there in the life of a householder. So that without any distraction he can completely focus his mind onto the self and thus uninterruptedly enjoy the ananda which is the nature of the self. And so he says, I'm going to renounce, become a sannyasi. Now this says that before a person takes a life of sannyas or renunciation, he should seek the anujña permission from, if he is married, from his wife, if his children, from his children, whoever is going to be affected by the decision. Those who are closely associated with him will naturally be affected by this decision of his taking sannyasa, becoming renunciate, and therefore he should seek their permission. In that spirit addresses his wife Maitreyi. Hey Maitreyi, now I am going to be renunciate, adopt the sannyasa ashrama, the stage of life of a renunciate. Hantate anaya katyayanya antam karvaneti. Apparently, Sage Yajnavalkya had two wives. One was Maitreyi, and there was Katyayani. So, hey Maitreyi, I will divide the wealth between the two of you so that both of you will become independent. Right now you are dependent upon me, but with the distribution of the wealth after my departure, you will become independent. Go to the next page. Sahovacha Maitreyi Yanname iyam bhavoho sarva prithvi vittena purna syat katham tena amrutasyam iti na iti hovacha Yajnavalkya यथैव उपकरणवतां जीवितं तथैव ते जीवितं स्यात् अमृतत्वस्य तु न आशास्ते वित्तेन इति. When Sage Yajnavalkya offered his wealth to Maitreyi, Maitreyi asked a strange question. Sahovacha Maitreyi. Maitreyi was thus addressed by Yajnavalkya. Yanname iyam bhagavo sarva prithvi vittena purna syat. Sir, you are living this wealth with me, but suppose I was endowed with the wealth of the entire earth. If I gain the entire earth, full of all the riches, katham tena amutasyamiti, would I become immortal by that? Or how can I become immortal by that? Please tell me. Not only the wealth that you are leaving with me, but I had all the wealth in the whole world. Would I become immortal by that? If so, how would I become immortal? Please tell me. Maitreyi made it very clear that what I am interested in is immortality. Immortality means freedom from death. I want to become free from death. And death stands also for ignorance. I want to become free from ignorance. Also stands for dukkha, free from dukkha. I want to become free from sorrow, free from death, free from ignorance. That is what is meant by immortality. Not only this much wealth, but the wealth of the whole universe, will I thus become liberated from death, liberated from ignorance, liberated from sorrow? Will I gain moksha? And how? Naiti hovachi Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya said, no. Ithaiva upakarnavatam jivitam tatheva te jivitam syat. Hey Maitreyi, with this wealth, you can live a life like those who have all the comforts. So you can live a comfortable life. Not a happiness is a different thing, comfort is a different thing. So this wealth can provide you comfort. Any wealth for that matter can provide you comfort. Amrutatvasya nasasti vitteneti. But hey Maitreyi, there is no hope ever forever for gaining immortality through wealth, meaning through worldly means. It may be wealth or power or fame or anything that you can imagine, any worldly accomplishment. There are many other powers also in this world. The power to do what you want to do. So, anima, mahima, laghima, lots sorts of so-called spiritual powers are there. You become vast, you can become light, you can, small. You can reach anywhere you want at will. So not only various material powers are available in this world, many so-called spiritual powers are also available. Even if you get all of them, there is no hope of immortality, no hope of liberation, no hope of freedom. When this was said, then says Maitreyi in the next passage, page 19. I'm just reading this just to understand the impact of what conversation is going on. Sahovacha Maitreyi Yena aham na amrutasyam kim aham tena kuryam yadeva bhagavan veda tadeva me bruhite. Sahovacha Maitreyi. That Maitreyi was thus told that there is no hope of immortality, moksha, liberation, freedom, true happiness. Let us put it this way. The freedom that each one of us is aspiring for. The happiness that each one of us is aspiring for is not that Maitri is asking for something different from what we want. This is what every human heart wants. Wants to be free. Free from all dependence. Free from all compulsions. Free from all sorrow. Every human being at every moment just wants this freedom. Not knowing what it is, not knowing where it is, a person thinks that maybe by getting wealth I'll gain that kind of freedom. By getting power, by getting fame, by getting various powers, maybe I'll get that freedom. And that is why the human being striving for all those material and worldly accomplishments. Because the conclusion that they will fulfill my basic desire. In fact, most people do not even understand what the basic desire is. When a given desire arises in my mind, like I want to go to Hawaii, then I think that is what I need. So by doing that I'll be happy, I'll be liberated. I want to go to moon. Whatever kind of desire arises, at that time the person feels that by fulfilling that desire, I'll be completely alright. So only after fulfilling that desire that one discovers that I didn't get what I really expected. Because the person did not know what he or she expected anyway. What do you want by going to Hawaii? What do you want by going to moon? Or what do you want by anything that you expect, hope or desire? People have not thought. If we think, then we'll find that what we are seeking is unconditional freedom, unconditional happiness. That's what we are seeking. You even can call it unconditional love, unconditional happiness, unconditional freedom. Sage argues, nothing has the ability to give you that, hey Maitri. So that's what Maitri meant by immortality. So Maitri is clear that what I am seeking in life is immortality, is moksha. What I am seeking is unconditional freedom or unconditional happiness. That's what I am seeking. That is clear. This is called emotional maturity. Or Puja Swami would say that when the mind becomes clear, it is able to see. That is when the person's life gains the right direction. Bahushaka hinantasya buddhaya avyavasayana vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. Says Lord Krishna, that is when vyavasaya arises in life. This understanding, this vision about the life, that unconditional happiness is what I am seeking, then the path becomes very clear. Until then, even though that is a desire, having not understood that very desire manifests as variety of desires, making me do variety of things, going in variety of directions. Bahushaka hyanantasya buddhaya avyavasayana. The vyavasaya, that very clarity or understanding of the life is not there, then the life goes from here to there to there, from birth to birth. Mrityosya mrityamatnavati, he goes from one death to the other. So this clarity of what it is, number one, that I am seeking something in my life. That my mind is desiring, and that another desire arises even after fulfilling one desire. Means that I am seeking something. What am I seeking? Hardly anybody ever stops to check into that. As desires arise, they keep on fulfilling them. But Maitreya is different. So thus one who has lived life intelligently and therefore lived life of values, attitudes, worship to the Lord, then mind gains a clarity. Vedanta says sattva guna, sattvic. When the mind becomes sattvic, then the clarity, understanding comes. Thus Maitreya is clear that I want immortality, moksha, unconditional freedom, unconditional happiness. So she is not interested in anything. This wealth is all right, provided it gives me what I want. If it doesn't go, then she is Sa hovacha Maitreya yanaham namrutasyam kimam tena kuryam. O revered sir, what use do I have with that, such as money, which cannot give me immortality? What use do I have? It's called vairagya. When viveka is there, then vairagya comes. What is viveka? A clarity about what I am seeking in life. What is vairagya? Then indifference to everything else. When I am clear about my destination and clear about the road that leads to the destination, then I am indifferent to every other kind of road. Then just because the road is smooth, has many attractions, does not attract me because that does not lead me to the destination. If the destination is not clear, then every attraction distracts me. So this is emotional maturity. When the goal is clear, path is clear, and therefore mind becomes single-pointed in the pursuit of what one is seeking. You can say that Maitreya rejected or did not accept, showed total indifference towards the wealth that Yajnavalkya proposed he would leave for him. Then what do you want? Yadeva Bhagavan Veda Tadeva me bruhiti. Whatever your revered sir knows as the means of immortality, I can see that you have attained that. Therefore, whatever yourself knows as the means of immortality, will you please tell me that? Yajnavalkya is very pleased. So hovacha Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya said, Priya bata arena sati. Hey Maitreya, you have always been dear to me. So Maitreya must have been a very good wife and good companion. Therefore, Yajnavalkya always loved her. I mean, she was always loved by Yajnavalkya. Priya bata arena sati. You have always been dear to me. Priyam bhasase, but today you are particularly dear to me. Formerly, Maitreya was dear to me, dear to Yajnavalkya as wife of Yajnavalkya. Today, Maitreya has become particularly dear to Yajnavalkya as a seeker of knowledge, because Yajnavalkya is wise person. And these great people always hope that people will come along seeking what they know, what they have to contribute. All accomplished people have, like great musicians also wish that somebody would come along where I can pass on what I know. musicians, artists, even physicians, and anybody who is accomplished. And so also in the heart of his heart, Yajnavalkya may have been hoping that Maitreyi will come, but she is very dear to him, so he would want the very best for her. But you cannot simply pour this knowledge to her if she is not ready or not interested. This is Lord Krishna always, Arjuna was always with Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna knew what Arjuna needs in his life. But that cannot be granted unless Arjuna is ready for that. No point in feeding a person unless he is hungry. So when Arjuna showed the hunger, Shishyasteham Sadimam Tvam Prabandam. O Lord, I am a disciple, I am surrendered to you, please teach me. Then Lord Krishna just poured out, he was just ready. No sooner Arjuna made the request without any formality, Yashaucha, Lord Krishna gave the Paramasika Upadesha. So does Yajnavalkya. That today, Maitreyi, you are particularly dear to me because you are seeking, because you are seeing something which is very dear to my heart. Then worldly love, etc. is all right, but this is really dear to the heart of the wise person. That somebody has discovered the need for knowledge. Ehi asva priyam bhasase, what you are saying is very dear to my heart. Ehi, please come. Asva, sit down, take your seat. Vyakhyāsyāmi, I'll certainly expound or explain to you the means of immortality. I will impart to you the knowledge which is the means for immortality. And gives one instruction. Vyachakshanastatume nididhyasasvaiti. Page 19, I'm reading that fourth passage. Vyachakshanastatume nididhyasasvaiti. As I explain it, please contemplate upon the meaning. Hey Maitreyi, I also expect a participation from you. When expounding this, Vyachakshanasya, when I expound this knowledge, you don't just sit there, but absorb what I say. Think about what you hear. Contemplate upon the meaning. And assimilate what I say. So this is the way to learn. Thus the listener or the student also participates in a dynamic manner, although the student doesn't say anything, but equally active in terms of listening, understanding, and making it, assimilating. With this background, then Sri Yajnavalkya started his famous discourse on the page 20. It's a long passage. Passage number 5. And you may or may not be familiar with it, but these are very famous passages among those who study Upanishads. Sahovacha Navare patyuh kamaya patih priyo bhavati atmastu kamaya patih priyo bhavati. He said, Sahovacha. Yajnavalkya, who was thus asked to impart the knowledge which is means of immortality, that Yajnavalkya said, But instead of giving discourse on the self, instead of expounding that knowledge of the nature of self or nature of Brahman, see, Yajnavalkya says something else. Doesn't right away begin the unfolding of the nature of self. But says what is required, what preparation of mind is required, what should be the state of mind to listen to this and assimilate that. So, Vairagyam Upadadikshuhu. See, Yajnavalkya wants Maitreyi to discover Vairagya or dispassion, which Maitreyi has actually. Maitreyi shown indifference about the wealth, etc. So, she does not need this passage, really. But since this teaching is meant for everybody, and also to make Maitreyi clear as to how this Vairagya is arisen in her, or to give a clarity about what the reality of the life is. See, Yajnavalkya makes a very radical statement. Navare patyuhu kamaya patih priyo bhavati atmasu kamaya patih priyo bhavati. Hey Maitreyi, it is not for the sake of the husband that husband is dear to a wife. A wife does not love husband for the sake of husband. Then what? Atmasu kamaya, wife loves husband for her own sake. And how about husband? Navare jaya kamaya jaya priya bhavati atmastu kamaya jaya priya bhavati. A wife is dear to husband not for the sake of wife, for the sake of the self. Meaning that each one of us is a self-centered person. What comes first is self. Self-interest is the first interest. Which is true. Swamiji, Vedanta teaches selfishness, in a way you can say. Except Vedanta unfolds the nature of self. And when we understand what the true nature of self is, then we realize that the selfishness is all-inclusive. Meaning that our self-interest, when it becomes enlightened self-interest, a self-interest with true understanding. When I realize that my interest is served when I also serve your interest. Even though at the first sight this statement would appear that we love others, like others for our own sake, and therefore we are self-centered. When I say I am self-centered, what is the nature of that self upon which I am centered? That is what, say, Yajnavalkya will unfold. The true nature of self. Because that is the most important to me. If I am a self-centered person, and that self-centeredness is the reason for all my vyavahara. I talk to you for self-interest. I do not talk to you for self-interest. I give you something for self-interest. Do not give you for self-interest. It will be very clear. Whatever I do is for self-interest. And therefore self is the most important to us, understand? Therefore, we should understand what the nature of the self is, to understand what it is that we are doing and what we are. So having made this statement that whatever we love, whatever we like, is for our own sake. Because in the Vedantic language, you can say that my love for you is conditional love. As long as you satisfy my condition, so long you remain the object of my love. As long as you do what I want you to do, don't do what I don't want you to do, smile the way I want you to smile, dress the way I want you to do, etc., etc. In the relationship that I have with others, I make many demands upon the others as to how that other person should conduct himself, herself, how they should be for me to be happy with that person. This may or may not be clear to us. But in every relationship or every interaction, there is a demand, a hidden or unexpressed demand, or a hidden agenda, you can call it. That I expect you to comply with my need, that I am a needy person and I expect you to fulfill my need. I expect you to make me happy. I expect you to love me. Now whatever that love means, what behavioral pattern it means, happy means what it means, that will depend upon a given situation. But this is the condition behind all the conditions. That I like you when you satisfy my expectations of you. As long as that remains, so long I continue to like you. I love you, I love you, I love you. And feeling that I love you, I love you, I love you. Otherwise, I love you, I love you, I love you. So self-centered we are. The moment a person stops liking us, stops doing what we want, stops being favorable to us, helpful to us, supporting us, in my mind I just let go. Outwardly I may continue to do my vyavahara because of whatever values I have, but inwardly, meaning that love that I have for anybody else or anything, even insentient things also I love, my chair also I love. As long as that chair gives me comfort. When it starts doing something, gives me aches and pains, I discard that chair. I love my shoe which is so expensive. As long as it is comfortable, it starts pinching, I discard it. Even if outwardly I may not discard it, inwardly I do that. Thus, my love for anything and everything is conditional. Whereas, my love for myself is unconditional. At all times, at all places, and all circumstances, I love myself. I love you provided the conditions are satisfied. The Sri Yajnavalkya here gives a long list which includes everything in our life. And in case it does not include Navare Sarvasya Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati Atmasu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati Himaitari is not for all that all are dear to me, it is for the sake of myself that all are dear to me. what it means to Maitreyi. Hey Maitreyi, look, you're looking out seeking love, looking out seeking happiness. That's what we want. And my mind goes out there because of the belief that that is where happiness or love is. Here, Sri Yajnavalkya made very clear. Hey Maitreyi, Atma, or your own self, is the true source of love. Atma, your own self, is the true source of happiness. The happiness or love that appears to be coming from elsewhere is just an appearance, is a Brahma, a delusion. In fact, the only source of love, only source of happiness is the self, yourself. Then Sri Yajnavalkya proceed to teach that yourself is everybody's self. That is what I meant by the enlightened selfishness. That I truly love myself only when I include everybody else. That will be truly true love or true happiness. That they will teach us. Right now this statement is made so that my mind stops wandering everywhere seeking happiness and love and becomes inward looking. This statement is made so that we have viveka, a true understanding that what I am seeking is happiness or love, and that is to be discovered from myself. I am of the nature of happiness, I am of the nature of love, so stop looking outside. Stop wandering. Stop chasing. That makes my mind in self-centered, inward looking. The mind should be looking at the self in order for the mind to understand the nature of self. So then Sri Yajnavalkya makes a statement on the page 21, the first line, very famous statement. Atma vare drashtavyah shrotavyah mantavyah nidhyasitavyo Maitreyi atmano va are darshanena shravanena matya vijnanena idam sarvam viditam. He Maitreyi, Atma vai are drashtavyah. He Maitreyi, Atma must be seen. Seen means that just as you see this flower, of all the organs of perception that we have, eyes are an organ of perception from which we gain clear knowledge. Touching this flower also is a way of knowing it. Smelling the flower also is a way of knowing it. Tasting the flower also is a way of knowing it, because we have given 5 ways of organs of perception. But seeing the flower is the clearest way of perception. So seeing here means clear knowledge, the knowledge free from any doubts or errors. Atma vare drashtavya. He Maitreyi, Atma, the self, must be seen, must be known clearly, without any doubt, without any error. In Vedanta we call it aparoksha jnanam. It means immediately, without vyavadhanam, without any interference of even sense organs of mind, because it's your own self. Yet sakshad aparokshad brahma. Elsewhere, same Upanishad will say later on, sakshad aparokshad brahma. Saksha aparokshad, aparoksham. It is sakshat, immediate. It is my own self. Brahman is my own self. God is my own self. Drashtavyah. He Maitreyi, you really known yourself truly. When you clearly see yourself as Brahman, as God, as limitless, as complete, as whole, as boundless, sir, how do I know? Shrotavya. You subject yourself to listening to the unfoldment of the self from a teacher. Shrotavya. So first and the most important step is Shravanam. Listening to the unfoldment of the Upanishad of scripture by a competent teacher. Because Atma, the self, is the subject matter of Upanishad. Therefore, when we are listening to unfoldment of Upanishad, we are listening to the self. Atma or Drashtavya. Shrotavya. Thus, from Shravanam we gain clear knowledge. Mantavya. Then you should also subject this knowledge to reasoning to remove any doubts or vagueness. Nidhyasitavya. And then you must make this knowledge firm, abiding, by removing any habitual errors. So, Drashtavya, Atma is known means Atma must be known with that knowledge, abiding knowledge. It must become spontaneous knowledge. So self-knowledge, that is called knowledge when that becomes spontaneous. Otherwise I know but I remember it. Why must I say, hey, I am Brahman, wait a minute. Because habitually again I become this, identify with the body, become jiva and I become, meaning that my mind gets old rut. Sometimes when we take a new resolve, do a given thing, now I will not say anything that will hurt somebody. That is what my resolve is. But heat of the moment I wind up saying something that hurts because my mind went into old rut. It's called habitual error. So similarly also I've been always thinking that I'm a jivatma, limited, a helpless creature. That's what I think about myself. And that is why this helpless self is the source of all my sorrow. Or my perception about myself is limited, helpless entity is the source of sorrow. Therefore, I should gain the true perception of myself, that in fact I am limitless. When that vision is there cannot be sorrow. But my mind slips back into the old habit of taking myself helpless being, so I must again remove that habitual. That's called Nididhyasanam. Hey Maitreyi, make this knowledge spontaneous knowledge. Sir, what will I gain by this knowledge? So last sentence said, Atmanovare darshanena shravanena matya vijnanena idam sarvam viditam. By the realization of the self, my dear, through hearing, reflection and meditation, all this is known. So here giving the fruit or result of this knowledge of self. Hey Maitreyi, when you know yourself truly, you know everything. You become all-knowing. Because self in its true nature is all-inclusive. Therefore, when you know yourself truly as you are, you as well know everything. Nothing remains to be known. Nothing remains to be accomplished. Everything becomes accomplished. Nothing remains to change. I'm all the time trying to become somebody else. My life is life of becoming. By knowing the self, all becoming will come to an end. I'm trying to achieve something. By knowing the self, all achievements will take place. I want to be limitless, free. By knowing the self, you will become, meaning that you will attain the goal of your life by knowing the self. Having with this background, now Maitri is all set. As to what state of mind she needs to benefit from this Upadesha teaching. Not only that, what is the nature of the self? She is now an idea. And what's the fruit of this knowledge? That also. So that is what will enthuse you. When we know the outcome, reward that we get from doing something, is a reward that creates a true motivation in me to do that thing. And that motivation keeps me focused on what I want to do. Therefore, when we do anything, there must be motivation to do. Then it gives me enthusiasm to do. It gives me a focus. That motivation comes when I realize that this doing will be very rewarding. I know the reward that comes. Basically, we are interested in reward. All our motivation comes from reward. So Vedas are very clear. If you want them to do something, tell them what the reward is. Then they will do it. So when they prescribe, not prescribe, but when they enjoin something to you that you must do this, right away the Veda also tells us what will be the reward by doing it. So here also Atma varidrashtavyah. Hey Maitri, Atma must be known correctly. Sir, what will I gain by knowing the Atma? Idam sarvam vididam. You will vijnana. Idam sarvam. You will know everything. You know everything. You will accomplish everything. You will become everything. I'm trying to become everything right now. Accomplish everything. That goal will be achieved by knowing the Atma. Nothing remains to be done. Nothing remains to be achieved. Nothing remains to be known. With this Bhumika or background, when now Maitreya is quite ready, with the right disposition of mind, right attitude, right motivation, right focus, then Sri Yajnavalkya starts unfolding the nature of self. He said that you're all self-centered, all right. But what is the nature of self upon which we are centered? So from the next passage, passage number 6, which is on page 23, the Upanishad has its own way of communicating. It may sound strange to us. That is the reason why we need to deliberate upon what is the intended meaning in what is said. So, in order to unfold now the nature of the self, first Sri Yajnavalkya describes what is ignorance of the self, and then tells us what is the nature of the self. How do we understand the self when we are ignorant of the self? And how do we understand the self when there is knowledge of self? So both of these are stated in this passage 6. He says, Brahmatam paradat ya anyatratmana brahmaveda. See the translation, the Brahmana ousts or slights one who knows him as different from the self. Brahmana stands for anybody, Brahmana, Kshatriya, whoever it is, any individual with whom I am interacting at a given moment. what is my perception of that individual? We always have a perception or conclusion or opinion about whoever it is that we are interacting with. When I'm talking to somebody, who is that person? My father, my attitude is something. My mother, attitude is different. My friend, attitude is different. He doesn't like me, my attitude is different. Meaning that my attitude and therefore the mode of interaction is determined by what my perception of that person is. What my conclusion about that person is. Because it is the nature of an intellect to always judge everything it comes in contact with. So I am talking to you right now. There is judgment in my mind as to who I am talking to, who are you, what is your nature, in broad sense. So here Upanishad takes an example. So when we interact with another individual, let's say a Brahmana, or a Kshatriya, or anybody XYZ, a man or a woman, young or old, when we interact with that person, yaha anyatra atmanah veda, when I interact with you, with this conclusion in my mind that you are different and I am different. See, very fundamental thing. Whether you are Brahmana, Kshatriya is a second thing. That is, that may be so. That is my father, mother, all right, all is established in my mind. First, then. Even my dear friend, how do I look upon that person? That friend is different, I am different. That always remains. If I like that person, then also the person is different from me and I am different from him or her. When I dislike the person, whatever that person is, usually what is our perception? What is our conclusion? That we create a division first. What's the division? You are different and I am. Meaning that I am not you and you are not me. Be very clear. I am a Swami, you are not a Swami. I am so and so, you are not. You are one thing, I am another thing. Even so, I may say that you are great and I am small. Whatever my judgment about you is, I have a judgment about you and I have a judgment about me, and because of that, my interaction with you is characterized by this understanding that you are different and you are not I and I am not you. Is it not so? Yes, Swami, that is so. I am not you, I am not a Swami. You are not me. I am younger, much younger. We don't deny that this person is Swami or that you are younger. All of this is granted. That my attire is different, even my language may be different, my upbringing may be different, my culture may be different. All of those differences may be there. Vedanta does not deny those differences existing at a certain level. Each one of us has a personality. So they are showing the Swami, hey, he'll do something to you, it would be a good idea to take the child out of this hall, because if now later on they will become restless and will give you trouble and give everybody else also trouble. So please take the child out. It's a different kind of a congregation. It's not a temple, unfortunately. It is something that requires peace and quiet and focus and concentration. Poor child, you can't expect that to stay. For a while it may, then slowly start moving about and running about and screaming about. But as I said, when I interact with you, there is no question that you are different, I am different. There is not question that you are a person, I am a person, you have your own characteristics, I have my own. Those differences are accepted. Upanishad says that in spite of all those differences that exist in your personality and my personality, that I am not merely the personality that appear at the surface, I am something more than that. And you are not merely the personality that appears, which is your name and form and this and that, is granted. That's not the truth about you. There's a costume in which you are. This upadhi, name and form, this body, this mind, this sense organ, this complex, is different from yours. There is no question about it. But that's not all about me. And what I see with my eyes or think with my mind about it is not all about you. When I see a beggar on the stage, that's not all about that person. What is evident to eyes is a beggar. But that beggar happens to be a costume, and in that beggar there is a billionaire actor. If I treat that person as a beggar, the result will be quite, one kind of result. I may be insulted, I may be ridiculed. So even though with my eyes or organs of perception I perceive a beggar, which has some kind of reality, but that is not all about that person. That person is something much more and much different from that. In fact, he is actor, he is billionaire. And so outwardly we all look as possessed of this body, our mind, our sense organs, our personality. It's there. It's not all about each one of us. That's what Upanishad says. There is something much greater, much more profound about us than even what we look upon ourselves as. We ourselves look upon ourselves as an individual, as a human being, but a small, little, needy, insignificant, happy, unhappy. That is there at one level, but that is not all about you. And therefore, when I interact with you, I'm equating you simply with your body, mind, sense complex that I perceive. And that perception what you comes because I perceive myself also same way. I look upon myself also as this body or mind or my sense organ, my intellect. So the way I judge myself is the way I judge you. So Upanishad says that when I interact with the person and in my mind look upon that person as different from me, Which difference is there? No doubt. That body is different from this body, no question about it. That mind is different from this mind, accepted. And everything about that person is different from everything about me. That is not denied. Meaning that the difference is not denied. But that's not all about that person. That's not all about you. That difference is there. But thinking that that difference is all, that shows ignorance. The beggar is there. To think that that beggar is all that is there, that's called ignorance of the person who is there. So also not only the body and all sorts of things are there about this person. But to think that that's all I am is called ignorance of the self. Because I do not know the true dimension of myself. I do not know the true nature of myself. I take myself to be a person, a limited person. And since I have that perception of myself, I have a similar perception of you. Because my perception of you will be determined by my perception of myself. My perception of anything, by the way, is determined by my perception of myself. Meaning that my perception is never accurate. Because I know myself wrongly, so I know everything wrongly also. In Vedantic way. So we are living our life in all these wrong notions, perceptions, conclusions. How can life be successful? So it says, when you look upon another person, Atman Anyatra, that you are other than Atma, you are other than myself, you are different and I am different from you, you are different from me. This is called duality in Vedanta. It is called bheda or division. Two does not make duality, division makes duality. Two can be there. But thinking that you are different and I am different is called division. I exclude you and you exclude me. Even though I may include you up to a lot of points because I like you, a point will come when I will draw boundaries. Like people, then we ask, hey, sit here, come on. You can even eat in my plate. You can go up to that point. But still, I will remain I, and you know, I cannot include you beyond a certain point. Thus, in all our interactions, that exclusion, I exclude other people. Because I have determined a boundary for me. I do not let anybody encroach that boundary. I keep everybody outside that boundary. And then suffer, unfortunately. By thus drawing these boundaries, Vedantas are imaginary boundaries. I have confined myself in a boundary. I am this much and not outside. So whatever is outside there is different from me. And thus having constructed this boundary, I exclude everything and everybody who is outside that boundary. Is it not so? And then I suffer a sense of isolation. Because I recognize that you also do not include me. So however close the relationship is, there is a point where you are you and I am I. Well, that is called love, and the difference is they slowly and slowly dissolve. The true love will be when there is no difference at all, but that cannot be without this knowledge. The attitude is great that I should include you. But real, absolute inclusion will happen when this knowledge is there. So true love and true happiness can be there only when this knowledge is there. true success can be that. So ignorance is first stated. That when I look upon you as separate from me, then you dislike me, I invite your rejection. Brahmatam paradat yanyatra atmana brahmaveda. That Brahmana rejects this fellow who looks upon him as different from the self. So nobody rejects me. They reject beyond a certain point, they exclude you. They don't allow you to enter within, allow you to encroach within a certain boundary. Up to this point, not further. However dear that person is. The person loves his wife. Don't disturb me, I'm in my board meeting. Shut up. I love that person very much. Don't wake from deep sleep, don't wake me up now, I want to sleep. So there are points when I draw those boundaries that you are not beyond this. I show everybody is their place. So when I do that, you retaliate in a similar manner, exclude me also. So thus all interactions, relationships are based on mutual exclusion. Now exclusion may be very gross depending on how gross I am. And how refined I am, that is, exclusion will be refined, no doubt about that. But when I look upon someone, I exclude someone. When I say I look upon someone different way, when I exclude that person excludes me. That means I reject that person rejects me. So this is called ignorance. Then why is it so? Because the last sentence says, in the same passage, in the line number 14, in the same page, 23, passage number 6, idam brahma, idam kshatram, ime lokaha, ime devaha, imani bhutani, idam saram, yadayam atma. Why is it that someone rejects me when I look upon that person or that entity as different from me? Idam saram, yadayam atma. All this is nothing but myself. The reality is that whatever I call a Brahmana, Kshatriya, this anybody, all these designations, idam saram, yadayam atma. All of this is nothing but this self. Meaning that what I am is what you are, and what you are is what I am. That is not so, Swamiji. I am not a Swami, but then this is not a Swami. Swami is a costume. Who is the one within that costume? That's called Atma. And here in front of me also is a man, woman, young, old, they're all costumes. Each one of those costumes, what is there is Atma, the self. This is the reality. When our vyavahara, behavior, our interaction, our attitudes are not based on this reality, then they're based on ignorance. The ignorance, right, creates a division, separates you from me. Not that you are separate, I create that separation. If separation was real, it would never go away. You can never eliminate it. But since that separatedness is created by me, on account of not knowing what my true nature is, what your true nature is, and having created separatedness, I suffer from a sense of being separated, being excluded, being lonely. So, Saints in India sing this bhajan. Koi nahi apna, nobody is ours. Not father, not mother, nobody is ours. Don't trust anybody. I don't believe in all those things, and then. But the point is, that's what people ultimately realize. Swami, I've seen now my life. I've seen everybody. I know everybody. We get disillusioned, thinking that this is my person, this loves me, likes me. We get disillusioned. Swami, I've seen everybody. That may be so, but that's not so also. That is so based on what you know or how you judge that person. And how you judge, basically how you judge yourself and judge that person. If you truly knew yourself, you would know that everybody is yours. Not only yours, everybody is you. How wonderful would that be? So that is called immortality, that is called freedom, that is called liberation. That's how Vedanta explains liberation. Not that you fly in the air and some kind of, those stuff. Don't desire that also. That is also limited. You fly in there, so what? Oh, I'm other than, I'm above every else, so what? There is a famous story of this village, this person, young boy in the village. Once upon he just left the village and returned to the village after 25 years. A great yogi with great accomplishments in these powers. So he declared to all these village residents that let us all assemble on the bank of the river on such and such date and such time, and I'll show you my power. That I can walk on water. Everybody was astonished. The whole village was assembled on the bank of the river to see this man, their own person, this yogi, walking on the water. And this fellow had a childhood friend. And my friend is going to walk on the water. Let me also go with him in my boat in case something happens to him. His friend also went along. So he walked on the water. This friend also went along with him in his boat. Both of them reached the other bank. And this fellow left. See what I have done? I reached the bank. And his friend said, I have also reached. What's the big deal? So walking in water ultimately, what's the big deal? We are all fascinated, no doubt about this kind of thing, and we will also bow down and fall at his feet and do all kinds of things when we see all these accomplishments. You may do that. I'm not. But what I'm saying is, all of that is all worldly stuff within samsara. Meaning that doesn't give you any complete satisfaction. You may feel something in front of these fellows. There can be other fellow who may be superior to you. Or they say, oh, you can walk on water. But can you fly? That I can't do. What's the big, So this is not what Upanishad teaches. Upanishad is a very simple thing. Very practical. What everybody can attain, understand. This teaching for everybody. Every human being can accomplish this. Because it's the nature of every human being that the wholeness, completeness is the nature of the self, yourself and myself. So everybody can accomplish that. So there's teaching for everybody. And looking upon someone as different from you creates sense of division, exclusion, isolation, sorrow. Because the reality is, idam sarvam hidayam atma. But all this is nothing but this self. Self that I am is the self that everyone is. So that is how sage Yajnavalkya started unfolding the nature of the self. Already exceeded the time, but we should give you the general Protocol is we should give you a break after 1 hour, thinking that that's all you can absorb. So not half an hour, we'll give you a 20-minute break for your tea or coffee. It's 11:40. Come back at 11:45. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Idam Brahma, idam Kshatram, ime Lokaha, ime Devaha, imani Bhutani, idam Saram, yadayamatma. This is a very important statement that we find in this Upanishad. Idam Brahma, what we take to be a Brahma or Brahmana, idam Kshatram, the one whom we take it as a Kshatriya, ime Lokaha, these worlds, ime Devaha, these gods, imani Bhutani, all these elements, idam Sarvam, whatever there is here, yet I am Atma, that is none other than this Atma. So this is a statement that is made. To enable us to see that what is this Atma means that you are Atma, that I am. Atma means the self. You are the self that I am. Anything and everything and anybody and everybody is the self that I am. How can it be? That would be now explained to us. But this is the reality, that what is the self. Therefore, when I look upon you as non-self, then I am creating division in oneself. What is oneself? Like ocean. What is water? There are a number of waves. If a wave does not know what its true nature is, it looks upon itself only as a wave confined to a name and form. Another wave is looked upon as another entity. Waves, bubbles, foam, all of these are nothing but water. But when the wave does not know that it is water, when the wave thinks that I am just confined to this name and form called the wave, it is by this perception of itself that I am this name and form, the water has essentially confined itself to a given name and form. Water doesn't have to be confined. It's not confined. But when the wave does not know that I am water and the self of all the waves, what that wave is what I am. What that bubble is what I am. What that foam is what I am. What this iceberg is what I am. What the drop is what I am. Idam Saram. All of this nothing but water. That is the reality. The wave does not know this reality. doesn't know that I am water, which is the self of all, I am everything. Just by not knowing the reality, and therefore looking upon itself as confined to what is called a wave, a small name and form, it is missing out. It missing out the benefit of being boundless, limitless, one, total, complete, whole. So in spite of this wave being water, in spite of being just one entity among all, in spite of its being one and non-dual, in spite of being water which is boundless, endless, limitless, in spite of that being the reality of the wave, that reality doesn't help the wave. Otherwise, wave would be absolutely free. Doesn't think that anybody is attacking me. Otherwise, one wave thinks that this wave is my friend, is helping me. Other wave is my enemy, is attacking me. Watch out. This fellow is coming to me. I don't know what the intentions are. Just when there is this division, there are all suspicions, all kinds of projections in our mind. Because who that person is, I have no way of totally knowing. So our life is dictated by uncertainties, suspicions, fear, insecurity, and then aggressiveness. When I feel insecure, I create a defensive mechanism around myself. And very often, the insecure person becomes offensive. A lot of this offense comes, a lot of violence comes from insecurity. So all evil is created by wrongly seeing what I am, for which there is no reason. So Upanishad says, just as the wave is being told, hey, you are water. What waves are, what bubbles are, what foams are, is all the self, is water, is you. How do you say that all the waves are water? All waves and bubbles and foam and whatever is all water. How do you say that? Because Atmano jayate, Atmaneva liyate, Atmainja sthiti kale. What's the reason why this wave is everything? When the wave perceives itself as a wave, it's not everything. When the wave recognizes that my true nature is water, as water is everything, as water it is everything. How do you say wave is water? Because it is born of water. It is water in the state of sustenance. It merges back into water, you see? That's why it is water. You may say that this pot is nothing but clay. Because it is born of clay. When it is pot, it is sustained by clay. When it breaks, it merges back into clay. So this is how we can say that this pot is nothing but clay. What is the reason provided? Because pot was clay before its birth. Pot is clay when it exists as pot, and pot will be clay when it breaks down. Meaning that in the state of sustenance, creation, dissolution, in any state, what is straight is reverse, ulta. In whichever state the part is here, there, is this way, that way, is one piece, is broken. In whatever state this entity is, it is clay. So Vedantins will say that this is clay because when you take away clay from this pot, nothing remains there. Similarly, when you take away water from the wave, nothing remains there. Therefore, wave is nothing but water. So what is the essential thing about me, without which I cannot be? So this is the method, the logical method of determining what is the true nature of this entity. What is the true nature of the part? Ask the part, or find out what is the part born of? What sustains the part? Where does the part merge back? That shows that at the time of creation, sustenance, dissolution, the part is never apart from clay. When we experience part, you cannot experience a part without clay. Is it not so? When you experience this ornament, you cannot experience this ornament without experiencing gold. Although we sometimes become so preoccupied with this form and its use and its beauty and its cost, its value, etc., that more often than not, we miss the fact that this is gold. That I am experiencing gold when I am experiencing ornament. That part is missed by us because of our preoccupation with ornament. So because of preoccupation with I'm so and so, I'm this and that, I miss the fact that I'm Atma. This wave misses the fact. The wave is so preoccupied with this size and its what thing is beautiful, bigger, etc., whatever, how it compares with other waves. It fails to make the note of the fact that in all states I am water. So for the wave to see what is the true nature, we ask the wave to look into this fact. What are you born of? What sustains you? Where do you merge back? That is your real self. Where the part is born of is clay. What sustains the part is clay. Where the part merges back is clay. Therefore, clay is the essential nature of part. It's called Atma of the part, self of the part, essence of the part, essential nature of the part, without which part cannot be. Take away the clay, there is no part. So all that part needs is to change its perception. No change, physical change has to take place in parts. To recognize that I am clay. Right now, the part is very preoccupied with its form and keeps on comparing itself with other fellows. I am something. So when this little thing comes before this, I am something, I am great. Who are you? You are insignificant. So all kinds of, because of the preoccupation with this form, this part looks upon other fellow also from the standpoint of form, and then forms all kinds of complexes. I am great. There can be something else, another part. I am small. So when there is other, the comparison will go on. That's the human mind. Other creatures don't compare. And therefore they don't have complexes. Our Swami used to say, here is a cow with shapely horns. There's another cow with distorted horns or broken horns. But the cow with shapely horns doesn't feel I'm more beautiful and this one is ugly. Nor does the cow with broken horn feel that I'm in any way inferior, because they do not judge themselves. They don't have that kind of, buddhi to judge. How self-judgment creates all complexes and becomes the source of my unhappiness. So not knowing its own self, this entity takes itself as a part and therefore judges this other one also by name and form and takes it as a part, maybe a bigger part, smaller part, or a pitcher, or some other entity, or a vase. What says, look at this, they are so lucky. They place flowers in this, all fragrant, beautiful. I feel water in me. This poor pot can be also a spittoon pot sometimes, Thus, by judging itself by its name, form, and function, all sorts of complexes are formed. So, ignorance of the true nature of this creates all kinds of judgments and complexes about itself. In turn, then it's, hey, you are nothing. Somehow, it has to make itself feel good. And for that, it has to dismiss it in some way. You just look big, you are nothing. You're just fat old big fellow. That's how they say. Just to make oneself feel that I'm all right. You dismiss others, you insult others, you reject others. That's a game that goes on when there is this division. And that is because I judge myself based on this name and form. What this is clay. The clay judges itself based on name and form and says I am pot. When it says I am pot, who says I am a pot? Clay says I am pot, understand? Because I am is clay. And this one says I am a vase. Who says? Clay says that. I am a wave. Who says? Water says that. I am a bubble. Water says that. I am a foam. Water says that. So water which is formless, water is no form, boundless, simply by calling itself a wave has managed to confine itself to insignificance. It doesn't have to become insignificant. To suffer from something, we need not be that. We should think that we are that. You follow? I need not be a useless person, but all necessary for me to think that I am useless, that is enough. And therefore, judging ourselves by this name and form, we compare ourselves and all these various complexes. Each complex is a source of sorrow. So, thus Vedanta explains that this ignorance of the true nature of ourselves, which makes me miss the essential nature of myself and makes me this name and form to be myself, looks upon me as name and form. That is the cause of all comparison, all complexes, all conflicts. If this fellow feels threatened by this one, he'll plan and scheme, to somehow break this. That's what this chap will do. And this chap says, who are you? And it will do something else to make it feel in its own place. That's a game that's going on all the time. It's a miserable life, Life based on this complex is a miserable life. Whether I'm rich or poor doesn't matter, I'm miserable anyway. As long as I suffer from this complex, doesn't matter who I am. I may be a sovereign, I'm a beggar. As long as they share these complexes, they are equally miserable. Meaning that every human being is a miserable creature. There is no reason. Had there been a reason for being miserable, we'll grant it. No reason. For a wave to feel that I am being crushed, I am unsafe, I am insecure, I must fight out. No reason. If it knew simply that I am water, then all this is water. All that the wave needs to do is to shift. The basis of his judgment has to be shifted from the name and form to water, that's all. It's all there. Not that water is someplace else and is to do something. So what is the essential nature of wave? That from which it is born, by which it is sustained, unto which it goes back, that is water. Similarly, what's the nature of myself? So to know the self, what is necessary is what is the essential nature of mind. And this passage will explain to us that from which I am born, that by which I am sustained, that by which I go back is my essential nature. What is it? Prajnana Gana. It is nothing but consciousness. That's what the Upanishad will explains. Hey, you judge yourself on what your true nature is. You are born of consciousness. You are sustained by consciousness. You merge back into consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is your nature. His body is now and later not there. There is no incidental. What happens is that every entity has two aspects. One is essential, other is incidental. So the essential nature of this pot is clay, because it's ever there. Clay was before the pot was born. Clay is when it is in existence. Clay will be even when the pot will not be. This pot or a form is incidental. Clay is essential, is it not so? Incidental means it may or may not be there. It need not be there. Clay will be, whether form is there or not. It is not that when the pot is broken that the clay is destroyed. Pot can be destroyed. Clay will not be destroyed. The incidental comes and goes. The essential ever is. Essential is the nature. So what is essential about this pot? Clay. So clay is its nature. What is essential about wave? Water. That is its nature. What is essential about an ornament? Gold. That is its nature. What is essential about you and I? Consciousness. That is what the Upanishad teaches us. Idam suram, yadayam atma. All of this is Atma. Atma means self, the essential nature which is consciousness. How is it so? How do you say I am consciousness? How do you say that this is clay? Because you cannot perceive or experience an object without experiencing clay. So when two things are experienced together, if one thing cannot be experienced without the other, the other is the essential nature. Meaning that this part cannot be experienced without clay. Therefore, clay is the essential nature of part. This part cannot run away from clay. Tadunatyeti kaschana. Kathopanishad says that nobody transcends that. This pot can never transcend clay, can never create distance from clay, cannot run away from clay, because it will cease to exist. That's the essential nature. So this is what now the Upanishad explains with a variety of examples. Now the passages are right here in front of you, by the way. So even if you don't have a book, that's all right. That's our Sahadev. So you come to page number 24, read passage number 7. So these very profound truths are explained with very simple day-to-day examples. Apparently our life, which is made of a very simple thing, does reveal something very profound if we properly look at things. So that passage 7, let us read that passage. Yatha sa yatha dundubhehe hanyamanasya na bhashyan shabdan shaknuyat grahanaya dundubhestu grahanena dunduvi agatasya va shabdo gruhitaha. Dunduvi means a drum, a huge drum, which the beat on certain occasions, like dance and like even in drama, even in war, in battle, big drum. It's called dunduvi. Dunduve hanyamanasya. Just as when a drum is beaten, na bahyan shabdan shaknuyat grahanayat, one cannot distinguish its various particular notes without hearing the general note of the drum. So when you hear from a distance somebody beating this drum and playing very specific, he's perhaps a knower of music, that way he plays specific notes which create different moods. Any musician by singing, any musician by playing the instrument. Similarly, a skilled drummer by beating the drum can create variety of moods, It can create in you enthusiasm to dance. It can create enthusiasm to fight. So various rasa, it's called rasa or the moods. All students of music know that. Just by playing specific notes on the drum, beating drum in a certain way, a certain mood is created. From a distance also that he's playing, he's now beating upon the drum. It's now time for dance, garba dance, It's time for arati in the temple. Oh, he's calling us for something which is important to assemble. So one may beat the drum to create different kinds of messages, moods, by playing specific notes. So when the drum is beaten, what is created are very specific notes which convey a certain mood, like dancing, like singing, like playing. When you hear all these particular notes, remember that all these particular notes you recognize that drum is being beaten. that mood may change. Even when they're doing this Garba dance, it starts with, slow beat, and then it picks up its pace, and then it picks up a lot of pace, and then people dance to the tune. So when he's beating the drum, the beats keep on changing, the mood also keeps on changing. But we know that drum is being beaten, drum is being played, isn't it? There is a sound of drum, a general sound, and then there are particular notes. So drum has particular notes and it has a general note. It's about everything. What I'm talking right now, I use these words, there are particular sounds, but you know that Swami is talking. Is it not so? How do you know? Even if you're not sitting here, sitting in dining hall, or now they have video, but otherwise Swami only had audio. Somebody will listen to the audio. Swami is talking. How do you know that? No, you are talking. What you are hearing are all particular sentences, particular words, particular, pitches, sometimes high pitch, low pitch. All the variations in the sounds of the Swami. But here are all the variations, but you recognize this is Swamiji's voice. Just now we heard the bhajan. Who sang that bhajan? Puja Swamiji. Now, how did you know? Because in all those particular ragas or notes that Swamiji was singing, the general voice of Swamiji was involved. So without the general voice of Swamiji, the particular voice cannot be heard. What we hear is particular dhun, particular bhajan, particular song, particular mood. What we hear is particular, but at the same time, that particular cannot be heard unless we also hear the general sound. Drum is being beaten. Swamiji is singing. Oh, my father's scooter has come. The child knows. My father has come. By listening particular sound of scooter, this is scooter. This is my motorbike. And so, the motorbike, duck, it may do, but it's motorbike. So, duck, all particular notes. But in that you recognize that this is the noise made by that motorbike. You even know what particular motorbike that. Anyway, meaning that the illustration conveys a very simple thing, that you cannot be hearing the particular notes of any instrument or a drum without hearing the general note of the drum. Because then only you say, he's playing drum. Or, even when you hear the general note of the drum, you cannot hear the note of the drum unless you hear the general sound, and you hear the sound, which is most general. Then you hear the general note of the drum. Then you particular note of the drum. You follow how things are getting particularized. A general sound in general becomes particularized as sound of drum, because in sound of drum the sound is involved, isn't it? And that particular sound of drum, that sound of drum becomes particular as particular notes. So this is a process of a samanya or a nirvishesha, a common thing becoming particular, like gold. So when you look at all these ornaments, although they are different ornaments, and you see them, you cannot see them unless you also see the gold. What is gold? Samanya, the common, the universal. What is an ornament? Like a wristband, like a bangle, particular. Samanya and Vishesha. Vishesha is called Particular is called Vishesha in Sanskrit. The common is called Samanya and particular is called Vishesha. Gold is Samanya. Wristband is Vishesha. Gold is Samanya. Bangle is Vishesha. Gold is Samanya. Earring is Vishesha. But understand that when this earring is there, Vishesha is there, the gold, the Samanya must be there. Without the Samanya, that is gold, the Vishesha in the ornament cannot be. So even though we may not know it because of our preoccupation with earring, how beautiful it is, and you may be just spending time on its form and shape and whatever, and therefore may not note that it is gold. But an ornament which is Vishesha cannot exist without gold, which is Samanya. A wave that is Vishesha cannot exist without water, which is Samanya. So what is water? The essential nature of wave, the Atma of the wave, self of the wave. What is clay? The essential nature of pot, the self or Atma of the pot. What is an ornament? Of gold? Essential nature of ornament. Similarly, here the example is given that just as the particular notes of a drum cannot be heard without hearing the general note of the drum, or general notes of the drum also cannot be heard without hearing sound, which is even greater Samanya. And then Upanishad gives two more examples. Just as somebody blows the conch, in conch also you can blow particular notes in particular moods. So while you are listening to particular notes of the conch, you know that the Samanya note of the conch. Like Veena, particular notes of Veena, a lute, you know that you hear the Samanya. You cannot hear the particular without the Samanya. The Samanya is always involved in, Samanya is the essential nature of Vishesha. So if you want to know what is the essential nature of something, we have to investigate what is Samanya. So what is the essential nature of particular notes of a drum? The general note of the drum. What is the essential nature of the sound of drum? Sound in general, is it not so? But sound also is modification of something. We have these five elements: space and air and fire and water and earth. And then their qualities are sound, touch, form, taste, smell. But there are also the particular forms of elements, Space is an element, air is an element, fire is an element, water is an element, earth is an element. So elementness, bhutatvam is common to them, samanya. So this is the process of investigating what is the essential nature of something, of this universe, of myself. Then we thus reduce the Vishesha into Samanya, particular into universal, particular into universal. How? Ultimately this will lead to what? So the Vedantin will say, what is the most essential aspect of this object which I am holding in my hand, called a pot? The pot is asti, pot shines, bhati, pot is useful, dear, asti, bhati, priyam. Then what about this ornament? Wristband is, it shines in my consciousness, it's dear to me, asti, bhati, priyam. So this ornament is vishesha. Asti, bhati, priyam is samanya. So that's when visheshas are reduced to samanya, common. Where will you reach ultimately? Asti, bhati, priyam. Existence, awareness, wholeness. Sat-chit Ananda. So that is how the Upanishad with examples show how the particular notes of drum have their being in sound, sound has its being in being an element, element has its being in being the primordial matter, the matter has its being again in the asti bhati priyam. You can say molecules and atoms and whichever way you want, but ultimately you arrive at what cannot be further reduced, asti bhati priyam, Satchit Ananda. So you look at this entity here. What is the most essential aspect of what I call I? Who am I? I'm a speaker. Who are you? A listener. After this is over, we are waiting also for this to get over. So we can go to the next building or next, which is dining hall. Speaker, when I sit there I become listener, that becomes an eater. So these are all visheshas, particular manifestations of myself, I. This applies to everybody. Is there something samanya or common in a speaker, hearer, eater, drinker, walker, talker, thinker? All these are my particular manifestations. What is the most common in all them? I am a speaker, I am a hearer, I am a thinker, I am a walker, I am a talker. The I am is something that is the samanya, the universal in all of this. So, what is my true? Is walker my true nature? Is speaker my true nature? Is hearer my true nature? Is thinker my true nature? Is Swami my true nature? Is father, mother, son, daughter, man, woman, happy, unhappy? With all of them, what is associated? I am happy, I am unhappy, I am son, I am daughter. So son, daughter, happy, all called visheshas, the particulars. The particular must be accompanied by samanya. Like the pot is particular, must be accompanied by clay which is samanya. The wave is particular, must be accompanied by water which is samanya. So what is it that always accompanies me? Whether I'm happy or unhappy, I'm tall or short, I'm successful or failure, I'm wealthy or poor, I'm man or woman, young or old, whatever visheshas are there, is there samanya or universal that accompanies each one of this particular expression? I am, I am, I am. Therefore, what is the most common denominator about me? I am, I am, I am. How about you? You also will say, I am a man, I am a woman, I am mother, I am sister, I am daughter, I am happy, I am this, I am that. In you also, what is the most common denominator? I am. Is it not so? The question is, the I am of you, is it different from I am of mine? That's the next question. I am is my essential nature, I am is your essential nature. If this chair could say that also I am a chair, It doesn't say that. Suppose chair had a mind. A mosquito will say, I am a mosquito. I am a tree. I am a plant. I am an insect. Is it not so? If you understood the language. The mosquito, plant, tree, all of these are visheshas, particulars, accompanied by I am, I am, I am. Is it not so? Everything is at all the times accompanied by I am, I am, I am. Let me ask you a question. Are you there or not? Are you there? How do you say? How do you know that you are there? Because my wife tells me, therefore I am there. No, Swami, whenever my son says I am there, then only I am there, otherwise I am not there. Is it so? Meaning that do you need the validation or verification by someone else to establish that I am? Do I need somebody that I am good? Somebody has to tell me that I have to be validated. But I am. Does it need validation? Does it need confirmation? No. It is self-sustaining, self-shining, self-existing, self-manifesting, self-sufficient, independent. Therefore, I am that you are, is I am that I am, is I am that anyone else is I am that anything is. That emness or existence accompanies everything. Even a chair, table, sentient, insentient. Isness is there in everything. Is not a chair is. A table is. A mosquito is. Even a criminal is. That much credit we have to give. Is it not so? A miserable fellow, but is. Nothing is devoid of isness. And therefore, that isness, existence, which is self-shining, so it is Sat and Chit, formless, boundless, Ananda. Therefore, I and you and everyone and everything is always accompanied by Sat Chit Ananda. You don't note it. This poor thing doesn't know this little thing that I am always accompanied by clay, and therefore this also is accompanied only by clay, which is same clay that I am, and therefore there is no essential difference. It doesn't know. And so it judges itself by the littleness and then suffers from a complex. And these fellows suffer another complex. The superiority also is a complex. As soon as I measure myself by dimension, there is a complex, limitation. So Upanishad teaches us how should we perceive ourselves, as particular or as universal, as incidental or essential. The I am essential, man incidental, Swami incidental, speaker incidental. What is incidental? Comes and goes. No, Swami always is. No, in deep sleep I am not even a Swami really. When I dream I become something else. This is not consistent. But I am is consistent in waking, dream, deep sleep, anytime. So that's how the Upanishad teaches us. The essential always accompanies the incidental. The samanya or universal always accompanies the particular. What comes to our notice is only particular, we miss the universal. It is there very much. Shining, self-shining. Why do we miss that? Because of so much attachment to this. Because giving reality to this, attachment to this, and I think this is valuable. I am is not valuable. I don't see any value in I am. What is the big deal about I am, Swami? Suppose I am, so what? If I am wealthy, then there is something. So wealth is valuable, prestige is valuable, fame is valuable, power is valuable. The existence has no value. What's the big deal about? Everybody exists. So what's the value? Is there any value? That is the most valuable, because without that nothing could be. Even wealth, fame, name, power, bigness, nothing could be unless the existence, isness accompanies, which is essential, which is the true nature. And the isness alone becomes all this, understand? If gold is the essential nature, gold alone is manifests as an ornament. Is not so? It is essential that manifests as a particular. So if isness is essential, that is what all this is. All names and forms are nothing but manifestation of isness, existence. From existence everything evolves, in existence everything is sustained, unto existence everything goes back. That existence alone is self-revealing, self-shining, so that alone is consciousness, and it is formless, limitless, boundless. Therefore, who am I? Asti, Bhati, Priyam, Satchit Ananda. And how many are there? How many Satchit Ananda? One without a second. When I see myself, then I don't see you as different from me. How do I see you? My own self. No divisions, no separatedness. And then, no partiality, no cruelty. When I look upon you as different from me, if I like you, I am partial to you, then I'll say, you come this way. I don't like this, stay away. This, in all relationships, like and dislike is always there. All the time I'm partial to somebody or cruel to somebody else. Never the same. Once the division comes, partiality comes, cruelty comes, violence comes, injustice comes, all problems come. Therefore, solution to all the problems is not far to find, is my own self. The reality is that even though we are different from one standpoint, not that we are not, but from a fundamental standpoint, we are one. That's the most valuable thing about us, about existence. If we recognize, then we become free from all divisions, all limitations, all partialities, all cruelties, all violence, all injustice. There is nothing but happiness, unsullied happiness. That's called immortality. What Maitreyi asked for. Hey Maitreyi, that is this immortality, that's what you are. You don't have to become immortal, you already are. Recognize that fact. By changing perspective about yourself. Don't judge yourself based on this form which is incidental. See yourself as essential, that existence. Here it's called prajnanam, consciousness. What is existence? Is consciousness. What is asti is bhati. Is priyam, is happiness, is love. So you are embodiment of love. You are embodiment of happiness. Because you are embodiment of existence. And so am I, and so everything else. If this is our perception, there is no cause for a sense of isolation, being excluded, being unhappy. All that remains is just wholeness, fullness, happiness. Upanishad says, Purnameva avashishyate. What remains is Purnam, whole, complete, limitless. So that's what every Upanishad, every Upanishad teaches this in its own way. In this Upanishad that we took here, Brhadaranyaka Upanishad, in this section, it has many sections, many ways it teaches. Here, it teaches in this simple, beautiful but profound way. So that's how, says Yajnavalkya, answer Maitreyi's request. Please teach me that which is the means of immortality. He Maitreyi, recognize that you are immortal, that everything is immortal. What is immortal? What is existence and awareness and consciousness? It alone manifests in all these varieties. There may be a difference in the way of manifestation, but no difference essentially. Never judge yourself based on the essential that you are and not the incidental that you are. The incidental is required, the costume is required for the actor to act. So we are all here sort of on this big stage to perform our roles, and so he's got all these costumes. But oneself has simultaneously put on all these costumes. Therefore, I am talking to myself, really, that's what it amounts to. That is clear in the dream. In the dream, all there is myself. And there also this kind of thing is going on. There also I sometimes talk and there are listeners and I think they are different. When I wake up, I realize, hey, everything was myself. That's how the waking also is. So this is, in brief, the teaching of this Upanishad. And with that, we'll conclude this class with a prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabha Shakratau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurte. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.